What you're about to hear is the voices of the pilot and air traffic controllers, and it's set to computer animation. Take a look.
LA Center, Troy 2-1.
Troy 2-1, go ahead.
It's not weird, but I just had something pass underneath my wing, maybe like a football-sized object right underneath our wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Do you think it was a drone or?
I have no idea. I got my sensor operator looking for it on the camera right now. We'll see if we can find it. But it's like a dark gray cylindrical object, and it was probably the size of a football, and it passed maybe 10 feet under our right wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Thank you for the report. Keep me advised if you find anything else out.
Yeah, we'll do. We're looking for it now. And okay, correction. LA Center, Troy 2-1. We got something on air-to-air radar. We're trying to get visual on it.
Troy 2-1, Roger.
And LA Center 094 bearing from us for about 60 miles is where it is now.
Troy 2-1, say again.
094 bearing from us about 60 miles away is where we're picking it up now.
LA 15, Oakland.
Troy 2-1, Roger, thank you.
All right, this guy was stopped at 14 for him because we were busy. There was some UFO reported here, but that's all taken care of now, so you don't have to worry about it unless you want to talk to Aaron. It was earlier, but it's gone.
I may not have to worry about it, but I am plenty worried about it. This is where I call in Ben Hansen to help me make heads or tails of this. Ben is a former FBI special agent and host of UFO Witness on Discovery Plus. He managed to secure that recording that you just heard because it was not made available to the public. Ben, what is your take?
This is a really interesting case. It was actually the air traffic controller who reported it to the National UFO Reporting Center, or NUFORC. So NUFORC is actually cited in the FAA regs as one of the places where pilots can go to make reports. So first, we want to thank the controller for reporting it, and also for the pilots. This was a Homeland Security flight, actually. So they were on, I don't want to say covert, but they were on a mission, probably doing drug interdiction or something like that. And they're flying along and they see this thing. So very experienced pilots. Now this particular aircraft too is a Beechcraft 350C, which they've converted to include a very sensitive and complex radar array. So you see that dome on the top of it. It's actually there to track, drug traffickers and things like that. So when they call this thing in, this is about 2:30 in the afternoon. It's September 17th of last year. It's broad daylight. They got a good look at this thing, cylindrical, dark object that passes underneath their wings so close. So, I mean, obviously you can see there's big problems with that happening in controlled airspace like they were, and they weren't notified of any air traffic that was supposed to be in the area.
So the animation, by the way, it's so realistic, I was caught off guard. Was that sort of made with the help of those who witnessed it so that it's as accurate as it can be?
Well, in this case, my team has not spoken with the crew, as you can imagine, because the sensitivity of probably what they were doing on this mission, it wouldn't benefit them to come forward to talk to the public quite yet. We'd encourage it, yes, but this was our rendering of just based on the audio that we had. It's a guess, right? That object could have gone underneath from left to right, forward to back, we don't know. But we do know their description is pretty exact.
I'm also sort of gobsmacked by 20,000 feet, because I don't think that ground-controlled, unmanned flights can operate at that altitude. Call me crazy. I think at one point they asked if it was a drone. What's the word on the possibility of some kind of a drone activity?
So it could be. It'd be very rare, but hobby drones can go up that high. Obviously, military can as well. This occurred near what we call military operations area, but it was not in that airspace. So anyone who was flying something to test a commercial type of drone or something would have had to call in. Now, the other thing that's very interesting about this is you hear them call out what they believe they're tracking this object about 60 miles away, because they've got their own airborne radar. And the pilot calls back to air traffic control, says, we think we have it. Now, debatable whether their radar array could see something this small at 60 miles. But if true, if true, within the 2 minutes when they called back, that would place this object going about Mach 2. Okay, so from them to gain that much distance in that amount of time. So that would absolutely, in my opinion, eliminate any prosaic explanation of a drone or anything of that nature.
The world's top UFO investigators, experts, and researchers, they're rubbing elbows and sharing notes at this year's Contact in the Desert conference. This year's theme is Event Horizon, focusing on what's to come for humans and how artificial intelligence will play a big role in shaping our future. Another big topic of discussion at the conference this year is government disclosure, of course. We've been talking a lot about that one over the past 2 years. And our NewsNation special correspondent Ross Coulthart has played a major role in lifting the veil on what the U.S. government knows about UFOs. And he is one of the lecturers at Contact in the Desert this year. He joins me now. Ross, if this isn't the biggest meeting of the minds that there ever was, I don't know what would be. Conference officially underway. What are your major takeaways or themes that you're noticing so far?
Good morning, Marky. Well, it's always fun attending a conference to discuss something that the US government says is nonsensical and has dismissed out of hand. The allegations of retrieval programs of alien spacecraft, allegations of deep underground military bases, something we explored just a few weeks ago on NewsNation. But the evidence is there, and it's quite fascinating to actually talk to people who've been on the ground, experiences, people who say they've had direct contact with non-human intelligence. And look, it's not something you can dismiss out of hand, because there are over 2,000 people attending this conference, and a lot of them are highly professional people who want to talk in detail about experiences they've had and knowledge they've gained.
And keep unlifting that veil that you and I have talked about so frequently here. I also know you've taken your podcast called Need to Know on the road with Bryce Zabel, and I understand you'll be hosting a live show later on this morning. What's the focus of that show going to be?
Well, Bryce Zabel and I have worked together for a year or two now to work a podcast that basically explores disclosure. What's going on? What's the analysis that we can do that helps the public understand what's really happening at the moment in efforts to try and persuade the US government to be more open about what I do genuinely believe is an ongoing cover-up. I've spoken, as you know, directly to people working inside a program that the government denies exists. A program involving the retrieval of non-human technology. And I know a lot of people out there will be intensely skeptical, but what we're doing today and what we're exploring all the time is the allegations coming from specific individuals, including David Grush, who appeared on this network, and including, of course, Jake Barber, who exclusively went on the network in January this year. And so a lot of what we're doing is reassessing that evidence and presenting it to this audience of, I can tell you, very highly skeptical people who want to hear the evidence and they want to test it for themselves. And a lot of people are asking, what's the US government doing to address these concerns? Is Congress ever really going to address this issue, or is it going to try and sweep it under the carpet? And so a lot of the evidence is being canvassed over the next few days here in Indian Wells near Palm Springs in California, and we're going to be reporting on that consistently for you over the next few days.
And speaking of that, I mean, this is the 11th year for Contact in the Desert. When you get all these like-minded people together for a conference like this, does it get the American people any closer to the answers that we've been looking for in the headlines the past 2 years, what the government knows, to your point, drones over Jersey, et cetera? Does this get us closer to that, this conference?
I think it does. One of the things I'm noticing is the level of identifiability for this innocuous Australian journalist who's covering this issue. I can't walk through an airport now in America without being stopped by people who know Reality Check and want to talk about the possibility that the government is hiding something about UFOs. There's a much greater degree of engagement. There's no longer the ridicule and the stigma from members of the public. A lot of the media continues to treat it like a joke, but frankly, a lot of the public don't. They want serious journalism into this, and that's what we're trying to do for them.
Yeah, they want answers. Well, Ross, I know you have a busy day ahead and a lot of prep to do for the show this morning, so thank you so much for joining me, and I'll let you go. Have a fabulous Friday.
Real pleasure, Marky. Have a nice weekend.
And keep us posted. I want to check in on the other side of this conference.
Good evening, Elizabeth. I agree with Ryan. I think the hilarious thing about this, it's such a joke, this Wall Street Journal article, because it's effectively admitting what we've known for years, which is that there are people, gatekeepers to this secret about this legacy UAP program, who have been lying to and deceiving the American public for years. And now it's official from one of the most senior people who served as the person in charge of investigating UAPs. Put simply, his explanation makes no sense. The idea that this would just be part of a hazing ritual to try and encourage people to believe in aliens as a cover for some secret US stealth program, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. We've known for years that disinformation is being used and that UFOs are often used as cover. But that doesn't explain the first-hand witnesses who say they have seen craft and that they have direct knowledge of a UAP program.
Yeah, I guess Ryan, what I don't get is, I get that they want to keep their stealth fighter jet at Area 51 a secret. I'm not sure how spreading disinformation about UFOs accomplishes that by going to the local bars and spreading these pictures and rumors. How does that accomplish that?
I mean, perhaps that had some effect in the 50s or 60s, but I think in the modern era, they're just going to be drumming up more interest than fear. So no, I don't think it's a very effective tactic, and I frankly can't really accept that that would be a widespread implementation technique that would be used. When a secret program such as a SAT program or a top secret program is exposed, there's very clear procedures of what's done as far as reading potential people in and providing them a debrief of what they experienced so they know the procedures moving forward.
Yeah.
There's not an official policy to read people into a fake UAP program to confuse them.
Ross, the Wall Street Journal article alleges that some of the officers who fell victim to this hazing ritual, who were being fed fake information, were told that the program they were joining was called Yankee Blue, and that it was part of an effort to reverse engineer technology on the craft. I gotta be honest, this sounds a lot like what David Grush told you and me in his interviews after he blew the whistle.
Look, it's quite clear, Elizabeth, that someone in the Pentagon has tailored what is quite clearly deliberate disinformation just to confuse the public. One of the other things they've done in this story that the Wall Street Journal aired without any kind of sensible investigation was claims that an electromagnetic pulse test weapon was used against an active thermonuclear missile site in 1967. And they do this to try and explain away what Bob Salas, a captain in the Air Force at the time, describes he saw, which was a missile being shut down by a UAP. And the idea that the US Air Force would sanction the use of an electromagnetic pulse to essentially test a weapon against an active thermonuclear missile, it's beyond belief. It's so ridiculous, it's absurd.
Yeah, Ryan, you think obviously Congress, there's a whole committee on UFOs that's been established because they're trying to investigate what the secrets are. Apparently, there will be another report coming from the Pentagon out about this disinformation campaign. This is really going to sound the alarm on that committee, what I would bet. You testified before it.
Well, I did not testify before the new task force that has been stood up, but I believe that this is going to provide them a lot of ammunition to look into some of these claims, which ideally will give them more opportunities to find people that they can speak to determine if this is true or not, and whether the American people have been deceived, even in a small part.
I don't know how you cure suspicions of deception with the revelation that there was a lot of deception. So we shall see, gentlemen. Thank you both so much, Ryan Graves, Ross Coulthart. Appreciate it.
As most people would say, a UFO kind of looks like a light formation in the distant sky, right? That's usually what we think. What they won't say, though, is that a UFO looks like a missile coming right for you in the cockpit. Unless, of course, they are crew members on board a Homeland Security flight over California. Those guys will tell you exactly what they saw, and it sure did not look or act of this world. A year ago, February, they took evasive action when a football-like Tic Tac came out of nowhere, heading straight for them. Thinking it was a missile, they duck the aircraft to the left to avoid a head-on collision and like raise the right wing so that the thing could pass right underneath them. And while they reported it right away, they did not talk about it publicly until now. Here is an animated recreation of the sighting with the actual audio of the encounter attached.
Troy 2-1, go ahead.
It's not weird, but I just had something pass underneath my wing, maybe like a football-sized object right underneath our wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Do you think it was a drone or?
I have no idea. I got my sensor operator looking for it on the camera right now. We'll see if we can find it. But it's like a dark gray cylindrical object, and it was probably the size of a football, and it passed maybe 10 feet under our right wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Thank you for the report. Keep me advised if you find anything else out.
Yeah, we'll do. We're looking for it now.
We got that animation from Ben Hansen, who's the host of UFO Witness on Discovery Plus. The people on that plane vouched for that animation, saying that is exactly what the incident looked like. Ben just interviewed a crew member, and Ben is here with me now live to talk about it. Holy cow. Wow, Ben, first of all, kudos to you for getting a crew member to talk, because that's one of the hardest things in this whole mystery, right, is to get somebody who's an actual witness to describe it, especially a reliable witness like these guys. But it's amazing that they described what they saw as thinking it was a surface-to-air missile.
Yeah, so it was actually that first NewsNation breaking news that we did with you that got them to connect with me. And I wanted to verify, because there is no video actually of this. They did try to attempt to video this with a camera that sits underneath the nose and the belly, but they didn't have time. I mean, this thing basically came at them at a 1 or 12 o'clock position, and first appeared as a glint, like a flash. And then in an instant, the pilot had looked down at what they call the TCAS, which is their scope that tells them other air traffic in the area, didn't see anything, looks back up. And within that about 2 seconds, the thing has closed the distance so quickly that he instinctively reacts. In his mind, he's thinking someone is shooting a surface-to-air missile at us. So he takes evasive action.
Okay, so then the next thing that's fascinating about that video, if we were to play the whole thing out long, is that these pilots are communicating with the ground and saying, this thing turned around and started coming back for us. That's my very inarticulate way of describing it. But tell me what they said happened when the thing, the Tic Tac, whatever it is, came back for them.
So forgive the crudity of the model, but I didn't have time to have my animator redo the video. So here we have a model that's not the real plane, right, the type, but it's flying along. And as this Tic Tac is a jelly bean, actually, is heading towards them, they instinctively turn off the autopilot. So this sets off an alarm, instantly wakes up all the crew, what's going on, and banks to the left. Okay, so he pops up this wing enough because he thinks he's in a collision with this object. It passes, he believes, either directly under him or slightly off. It continues on behind them. So he gets the sensor operator involved, and they have a very sophisticated radar on board. See if you can find this thing. Well, that's where they believe they tracked an object, their same altitude, 20,000 feet, 60 miles behind them. In a couple of seconds, that object then jumps to about 20 miles closer to them, back to 30 or 40, and then again to 10. It's like it's playing hopscotch back and forth, and they have no idea what this is.
So obviously, I think most important question here would be, how did this crew member react, and what have they done with this information since, and how were they received delivering the news about what they went through?
Well, first of all, as we always say, in incidents like this, it is a safety of flight issue, and that's why they called LA Center, the air traffic control, to report to them what just happened, right? They did their best to try and document, to try and record this thing. They're really concerned about it. It doesn't make sense that over California you'd have a surface-to-air missile coming at you, but instinctively, I've been flying as a pilot, and I've had like a bird come towards my wing and pop that wing up really quick so I don't collide with it. That's a concern. Nobody should be flying at 20,000 feet unidentified, and this object had no means of visible propulsion. There was no smoke, no streak, no anything as it passes by. So how is it flying, and how is it going several times the speed of sound? And then hopping back and forth. It reminds us of the Navy Tic Tac video in 2004, right? And they described that on radar covering 60 miles in mere seconds. So same, California coastline, same kind of description, a lot of similarities. Everyone's baffled about it. And we're hoping that officials take this seriously and look into it.
Well, like I said, you can't get a more reliable witness than a crew from Homeland Security, pilots who literally had to protect themselves against it in terms of reporting. You and I are not finished talking about this.
Transparency breeds trust. New boss, same as the old boss. This administration is no better when it comes to transparency about UAPs. Investigative journalist Jeremy Corbell, along with his partner George Knapp, got their hands on newly released Navy footage of UFO sightings from 2023. What you're looking at right now is the footage and what Corbell believes to be one of 4 Tic Tac-shaped UFOs, I'm sure there's a better way to talk about them, emerging from the water, then flying at supersonic speeds. Out of the water, supersonic. How? Corbell then spoke to an unnamed member of the Navy who witnessed these firsthand, said this.
To see the lights emerging from water, what we witnessed was all 4 of them, all in synchronous, jetting off into the abyss. All 4, all timed together, and all left. And we were like, holy shit. Maybe 3-4 seconds pass, I run to my station and I look at my radar and they're all gone.
Is Corbell right? Is the government keeping important information from you? Joining me now, investigative journalist, co-host of the Weaponized podcast, my friend Jeremy Corbell. The floor is you, Jay. What do people need to know?
Yeah, man, this is an interesting case. There is power in military footage. It's few and far between that we get great sensor data on something that is truly anomalous, and that's what we're seeing here, backed up, of course, by the eyewitness testimony. This ship is one of the most technologically equipped ships, but additionally, this is a senior ranking Navy official who I believe will end up coming forward. They saw these craft coming out of the water, at least one of them coming out of the water. That's transmedium. This is in the Combat Information Center. Also, they saw 4 of them in total. They saw them on radar, then they picked them up in thermal. That's why it looks black and white. But if you look at a plane through that system, you see wings, a tail, exhaust, rotors, all sorts of heat signatures. You're not seeing that here. So again, it was tracked on radar, tracked on thermal. There was a kind of a synchronized, coordinated, instantaneous departure described to me and George Knapp by the firsthand witnesses. This is really reminiscent of the 2004 Tic Tac UFO, where Commander David Fravor, who testified in front of Congress, chased a UFO for the United States military. Cat's out of the bag. Sailors are seeing stuff, and now we have more evidence.
How big, and do we have stuff like that?
Yeah, no, everybody says we don't have stuff like that. Don't take my word for it. Commander David Fravor testified in front of Congress. We didn't have technology like this in 2004. We do not have technology like that now. We also wouldn't be testing, kind of black budget technologies in these warning areas right off the coast of San Diego. This has been going on for decades, if not centuries. We don't have technology like this, but take the word of people that testify in front of Congress who know.
Why do you think they're not telling us?
Yeah, man, it brings us back to like the core question here. We want transparency. We want the truth. We've been told UFOs are real, but that's it. Congress has done their best so far. I am holding hope. If you remember this last hearing at Congress, I was able to bring in the Immaculate Constellation documents, and I actually brought the whistleblower himself in to speak with members of Congress. He didn't testify publicly for personal reasons so far, but we learned from his testimony that there are thousands of videos of high quality of UFOs, UAP that's been admitted to, the public hasn't seen. I'd sure like to see them.
Jeremy Corbell, I'm always a call away to give you a platform to increase our understanding and make the case for transparency. I'm with you, brother. Thank you for bringing this to us tonight.
Thanks, Chris. We'll get there. Keep pushing.
Revelations from a UFO whistleblower making headlines tonight. In an exclusive interview with NewsNation's Ross Coulthart, Air Force veteran and Skywatcher founder Jake Barber just revealed that the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, known as AARO, has been to the range to observe UFO scientific testing.
I really do hope that we can have a more functional and opening relationship with them. We are in communication with them. They have been on the range in the past.
The Defense Department working side by side with Barber's team at where Skywatcher conducts its UAP tracking operations. Barber claims that when Skywatcher works at that classified location, his team gets results 100% of the time. What does this all mean? For more, we are joined by Ross Coulthart, investigative reporter, NewsNation special correspondent, and host of the Reality Check podcast. Good to see you, Ross.
Good evening, Natasha.
So Barber indicated that the Pentagon's AARO office has an interest in UAP observations, sometimes referred to as summonings. What is the extent of the Pentagon's involvement with Skywatcher?
Look, all we know at the moment is that the AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is the Pentagon's UFO investigation office, has visited the range, which is a secret location where Skywatcher, a private equity group investigating the possibility of inviting or summoning non-human intelligence technology craft, is actually conducting its operations. And so Mr. Barber, in an interview that he recorded with Reality Check last week, he's basically admitted that for the first time, the Pentagon is taking a close interest in this private initiative. He's at pains to emphasise that what they're doing at Skywatcher is not under Pentagon or Defence Department control or Intelligence Department control in any way, but it is very important. It actually signals, I think, a refreshing new change in the way that the Pentagon's approaching this issue. Maybe it sees the inevitability of what Skywatcher is hoping to achieve.
Do you think they will continue this level of involvement with Skywatcher, given that Barber has been so open, so transparent about speaking with you and letting the public behind the scenes?
Well, it's quite funny, you know, Natasha, because we've got an official Pentagon position at the moment, publicly, that there is no evidence of any kind of extraterrestrial engagement with this planet. Yet, at the same time, we know that there are very high-level consultations between the Pentagon's UAP office and organisations like Skywatcher, contrary to what the Pentagon and the intelligence community is telling the Congress and the public. There is a high degree of engagement and interest in the UAP issue. And I've known for some time that there is this consultation going on, that what Skywatcher is doing is trying to prove what it says the Pentagon, the defence community, the intelligence community have secretly been doing for much of several decades. They've basically been allegedly bringing down in some way, encouraging to land non-human technology, which I know sounds wacky. It sounds absolutely preposterous. But the reality is this has been happening secretly. I'm very assured that it's been going on for quite some time, and that this covert defence and private aerospace program is now being emulated by the Skywatcher team to, they say, great success. They've said that when they use their electromechanical dog whistle, which is a signalling system that they use to try and attract the phenomena, they say that every time they use that dog whistle, it's worked 100% of the time in summoning the phenomenon.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Do you have any more details about what that means, working 100% of the time? What does it look like when a phenomenon is summoned?
Well, I'm working on background here because I'm told that within a day we're going to see a video that is being released by Skywatcher of different types of craft. They claim to have been able to recover video of 9 different shapes, including, Natasha, incredibly, not only the Tic Tac and the egg that we all know about, but a jellyfish-shaped UAP, literally some kind of object with what looks like a metallic surface on its top, but spreading out into some kind of tentacled object. They obviously have no idea, as you and I do, as to exactly what this object is.